Hello, welcome back, everybody. It's time for this week's episode of Everyday Enlightenment. This is a very interesting question, so I'll try not to go on and on and on in my answer. Those of you that know me, I tend to do that. So let me get to the question. It's a really good one. Okay. Hi, RJ. Thank you so much for your revolutionary teachings and wisdom. They are truly life changing. I really want your enlightened perspective on sex. Throughout history, many advanced spiritual teachers like yourself speak about sex as something to abstain from. Being physical with someone feels natural to me, so this has always troubled me. Is sex something we should abstain from, or is it okay to be intimate physically and have sex? Thank you so much for what you're bringing to the world right now. Candace. Well, Candace, you're most welcome. And thank you for the kind words. Thank you for the question. Okay. Sex. All right, right? That's the question. Okay. Well, why don't we work backwards? I think it's just easier that way. Um, well, sex is obviously necessary for procreation. A long time ago, it wasn't. That's probably a whole nother discussion. But in terms of how the physical vehicle has evolved, it now requires sex to further the species. Okay, so the idea is to create life through sex out of love, as love is the wellspring of being and non-being. So by creating life through love, that is really the idea behind it. And I hope that makes sense. Okay. Now, sex and love don't really have anything to do with each other in and of themselves. Okay? That's number one, important to understand, because we have been inverted and perverted in terms of all of these understandings. So sex and love, at their core, don't really have anything to do with each other. But if we go back to what I just said about the ultimate goal was to create life out of love, right? Okay. Now, many authentic spiritual teachers do talk about abstaining from sex. Now, the understanding behind that is that by gaining dominion over body conscious, or what I call body consciousness, you are now operating at a much higher level, more akin to what you really are, which is an energy being, a high frequency divinity incarnate, right? So by overcoming the lower consciousness or body consciousness, we're able to work with ourselves and experience ourselves in an elevated way. And so that's why many spiritual teachers talk about that and live their life that way. Also, authentic spiritual teachers are tangibly aware of the mixing of energies that occurs when you engage in intimacy. Now, when you mix your energy with someone else, I mean, that is exactly what you're doing. You are mixing your energies. And then the question becomes, from a very detached perspective, why are we doing that, and what will be the result of the mixing of our energies? It's typically not clarity is the result. It's normally the opposite. And true spiritual teachers are aware of that, and they do not mix their energies, which is why they abstain in general. Now, spiritual teachers, and I'm not going to get into some of them, and even masters, ascended masters, who do keep reincarnating, by the way, they do or can or have or will engage in sex. But again, if the purpose is procreation through love, because of love, otherwise, for the most part, they do not sully themselves by mixing their energies, because they have no need of that or desire of that, because they have risen above body consciousness. So that's really the teaching behind that. As I could go on and on and on, I'm not going to, but that's really the teachings behind that, is understanding those two principles. So when we say, is there anything wrong with sex? There's nothing right or wrong with anything. There's nothing right or wrong with anything. It is a choice. It is an experience, and then you get feedback. If we can be that detached. We have to understand what is driving the behavior, right? And again, it will be body consciousness. It's the body. What you really are has no need of any of that. What you are is whole and complete as you are. The self is whole and complete. It is not desirous of anything or anyone other than just experience. Since it's immortal, what does it want? Experience. Human experience, alien experience, this experience, that experience, endlessly. Okay, so there's nothing right or wrong with sex. But be aware that when you are intimate with someone, you are mixing your energies with someone. And there will be feedback from that experience. I would say the most important thing to understand is what is driving that need or desire for sex. Really look at that. Again, not right or wrong. Right? That is duality born of an unawakened mind. There is no right or wrong. There's high frequency and low frequency. That does exist. That's metaphysics. That's tangible. But right and wrong is subjective, based upon the subconscious pattern egoic mind and the timeline that you incarnate into. What is driving the sexual desire? Right? The desire that we have for another is the desire that we have to know ourselves. They are the permission slip or avenue or way in which we can experience aspects of ourself. Let our inhibitions down, however you want to say that. When we start to understand ourselves in this way and we start to see what is driving our actions and behaviors, we gain great clarity. And through that clarity, we gain gnosis or self-knowledge. But if we can start off with understanding, sex and love are not the same thing. It doesn't mean they're mutually exclusive either, but they're not the same thing. And there is a mixing of energies anytime we're intimate. You may choose to mix your energies with someone. You may choose not to. If you want to know yourself completely, rise above the desires of body consciousness, and you will realize that you are already whole and complete as you are. Now, if we tangibly experience that wholeness and completeness, see what happens with physical desire. Just do it as an experiment. How's that? Just do it as an experiment. See what happens. There's a lot to discuss in terms of this, and I may very well teach some kind of course or some kind of class regarding this. But for now, hopefully this will suffice. So, and that is my take on sex. There you have it. the short version of it. Thank you very much for the questions. Very good question, and I understand why it is asked. We are having a low frequency physical experience. There's deep identification with the body, and then therefore we reduce ourselves to body consciousness, and then there's going to be the desires born of body consciousness or sex. Again, nothing right or wrong with it. We just need to understand what is driving the behavior, and then understand what sex and intimacy really is, what is really going on. We can use sex and intimacy to reach higher states of consciousness, or you could do that exact same thing without it. Again, there's so much to talk about with this. this might not be the right forum for me to go on and on and on. I think maybe a class or a course might be better. Okay. With that, thank you again very much for the question. It's an excellent question, and I hope that was helpful for you and for everyone. Thank you so much. Be well, and I'll see you soon.